To get you out there. Uh, all
Yeah,
right.
one day.
So, good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Ronnie Rios. I'm a senior consulting engineer at FileMaker. That title just means I'm the geek of the sales team. That's all it means. But really happy to be here with you guys. Trying to share some of this presentation that I did at DEF CON this past year. If any of you have not been to DEF CON, I'm just saying here, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing experience. This year it's going to be in Phoenix, and the lineup already seems to be really amazing. So I think it's going to be a wonderful DEF CON. And there's a lot of things that we share at DEF CON. This session was very interesting to me. This topic, and I found out about it, and I thought I'd share a little bit about what I found in the community. Because most of what you're going to see here today is really about research about what the community is doing, what people, developers in the community are doing, not just in FileMaker developers, but even beyond that. And it's this concept uh, of really small projects, right? Starting very, very small and creating the project, starting small and building it little by little, just with slices, just adding onto it in several iterations. The concept is not new, but it's trickling down and it's coming into the FileMaker community. And I thought it would be interesting to make those who have never heard about it a little bit aware, and how interesting it is how its incarnation in the FileMaker platform, right, has come about. So a little bit about me. They ask me normally to say a little bit about myself. Professionally, I've been using the FileMaker platform of development in general for about 20 years, and FileMaker for pretty much as long. I've worked at Apple before as well. Been a consultant for many years. Most of my professional life has been as a consultant, as a FileMaker developer, like many of you. So I've been in your shoes. I've been on both sides of the table. And have a lot of experience in developing and consulting in general. On a personal level, hablo español, esa es mi lengua, mi primera lengua, por si acaso. I love coffee and roller coasters. Those are my passion besides my family. So if you want to really find me, I'll probably be in coffee shops or running roller coasters. That's my thing. So that's a little bit about me. So all right, so let me tell you a little bit what kind of inspired this session. I got a couple of quotes here from one of our customers, which I just thought was just really powerful. They just kind of they caught me off guard. This customer had started or participated in one of our events that we did at an Apple retail store, and signed up for one of the idea to iPad bundles, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. But it was wonderful to hear his experience, right? He told us, literally, he told us, you don't understand what was delivered to us was nearly impossible, right? They had spent a lot of money before trying to get a tool done, get something done in other platforms, and they got in just a couple $1,000s using the FileMaker platform what they could not have gotten in anything else, and they have tried before several times. So this kind of, and this wasn't the first time I've ever heard things like that. So this kind of got me thinking. So let me tell you how this came about. About a year and a half ago, I'm going to say, we started this campaign at FileMaker in conjunction with Apple retail stores. We called it the Idea to iPad campaign. And basically what it is, we partnered with Apple retail stores. As you may know, FileMaker is a wholly owned subsidiary of Apple, so this is in the family. And what we did, we planned these events where select customers, right, Apple retail customers, were invited to these events, and we invited then our FBA partners to come in and talk with these customers, right? And these customers had specific pain points in their own businesses and their own organizations, and we had the FBA sit down and talk with them. And out of this, we provided with the customers with a kind of a bundle, in which for just $2,000 they would get FileMaker software, FileMaker Pro Advanced and Server, and some FileMaker Pros, enough for a few users to get them started. And then our partners provided 10 hours of consulting. That's it, 10 hours. And in those 10 hours, they were going to talk with the customer, figure out some of the needs, and build something, deliver something at the end. So a prototype, if you will. I don't want to label it, but something tangible, something to get their idea, what the customer had in their mind, what they had scribbled down in a napkin, and get into something tangible on, say, on an iPad, right? And what really got me was when I started looking at some of the results of these development sessions, of these projects, was that a lot of these deliverables were usable, right? This is 10 hours. We're talking about 10 hours in total, and we all know 10 hours is not a lot of time. We're talking about 10 hours including conversations with customers, meetings, right? 10 hours in total. And a lot of these projects were usable. They were delivering value. And this just got me just really interested. So what I did was I started to make a few calls, right? I wanted to know how is this happening? So I called some of our partners. And I couldn't put everybody here. I spoke with a lot more people than I could fit here, but this is what I could fit in the slide. I started calling, like, what's going on? What are you seeing out there? What is this? So let me share with you some of the things that I learned. First off, what is this concept of 10-hour project? What is this, right? And when I started talking with our partners, I'd ask them, what do you call it when you're doing these projects, right? And I heard back many different names, and some of these are very familiar to you, right? So I heard the first one I heard very often was mock-up, right? We're creating a mock-up for the customer. The problem with mock-up is that when we hear that word, right, we associate immediately that it's something for teaching, right, for demoing or evaluating, and it's not meant to work. And that's not what I was seeing, right? What I was seeing was something that was usable. So, mock-up really wasn't the right name for this. I heard also prototype, and again, I had a problem with calling it a prototype because prototype normally we associate with something that's built to test a concept, right, or a process to see if it's possible. But it implies normally that it's going to be discarded. That we're going to use it, we're going to test it out, we're going to see if something works, and then after that, the prototype is gone, we throw it to the wayside, and then we go into production, right? And sometimes I heard the word functioning or working prototype to what was being delivered, but still, this just doesn't really encompass what I was seeing. The other name I heard, which hit very closely to kind of defining what I was observing, was this: the minimum viable product. And this is interesting because it's a concept that's being thrown out a lot in the whole project development, not just in development itself, not just in coding, but in creating products in general, right? The problem with this one in particular is, well, a minimum viable product has a particular purpose, right? This is a definition that the person who's almost considered the father of the concept of minimum viable product, how he's defined. He's defined it as that version of a new product which allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with the least effort. And this is close to what I was observing, but the problem here is that the minimum viable product, its purpose, if you go read all the text about it and everything in books, it's about learning whether or not this deliverable, this thing that you've created, validates what you think that the customer wants. That your ideas, that the concepts, and where the customer wants to go, if you're right about it. And then you can throw it away. And it doesn't have to be something finished. It doesn't have to be something usable. It actually can be something that you draw on a piece of paper, right? As long as you can validate what you've learned, you can consider it an MVP. That's not what I was observing, right? So I went on and I just wanted to give it a name, so I just called it, right, 10-hour project. And as any person in the tech industry, I tried to come up with a really cool acronym. I tried a few of them. Some of them don't really work at all. That one's horrible. But in talking with some of these people, and I remember John Matthews from QLogic said, Ronnie, just describe it, don't label it, right? And he's absolutely right. So I decided, well, what are the characteristics of what I'm observing? So first thing I'm seeing in these things that are being delivered is that it usually has a single or very narrow focus, right? It has one purpose or function, very narrowly focused. Usually it's meant to help with one particular business need, one pain point, right? Very, very small, very narrowly focused. Second thing I noticed in most of them, if not all of them, is that they deliver value, right? It's usable immediately and delivers value to the customer. So the customer can take it back to the office, take it back home, and then start using it. Not fully finished, right? But they can start using it and get something out of it. And lastly, they are developed at a low cost, right? In a very short amount of time, and in many cases, actually in or around 10 hours. So I took all of this and tried to bring and create a full description out of these characteristics. So this is the best description I could come up with, right? The most valuable solution you can deliver in the shortest amount of time. And notice I didn't say 10 hours, right, in this definition, because that means it's a different time frame for different people, right? For some people it is 10 hours, for others it's 15, 20. But the point is it's done in a very short amount of time with very little cost. I call it a 10-hour project because the 10 to 30-hour project doesn't sound sexy enough, right? It doesn't sound good. So I needed a catchy catchphrase, so I call it a 10-hour project. But the concept still stands, right? It's something that's valuable. It's the most valuable thing you can deliver in the shortest amount of time you can do it. You can do this. So I went out there and started asking some of our partners, show me what have you done as a 10-hour project. So I'm going to share a few of those that some of our partners showed me. This one here is from the Scott Howard Consulting. This is just really amazing. Scott spoke with a customer who he met at one of these events in the Apple retail store. This is a law firm. The managing partner, Todd Carlisle, I believe his name, was telling us that their law firm has about 120 lawyers in Birmingham, and they had spent the time and money trying to come up with a solution that would take all the aggregate data that they had. I think it was like something around like 10, 15 years worth of data, and be able to compile and get information out of it. And they tried different tools to do that, and had always come up short. And they wanted something that they could have mobile on iPads. And Scott did an amazing job, right? In 10 hours, literally in 10 hours, he took that and built this really amazing solution. It's just really, really great. They started immediately get value out of it, started using it. Not fully finished, but usable, right? Getting value immediately out of it. I think it looks wonderful too. It looks really beautiful. And again, useful right off the bat. This led actually to a lot more consulting time. They hired Scott for I think about 100 additional hours, something like that, to keep expanding, to keep working on the solution. They bought iPads, a bunch of iPads after that, and it kept on growing. A lot more licenses for us as well. So it was a win-win for everybody. But off the bat, right, they didn't start losing. They started immediately getting value out of it. Here's another example by Smallco. Great partner as well. They always never cease to amaze me on beautiful work that they do. This is another law firm. This law firm just needed a way to keep track of the time that they spend on each one of their cases, so just time tracking, right? But they needed this to be tied into their other systems. They've got some enterprise level systems, and this does something very simple. This was built in 10 hours, again, and they turned it on, started using it right away. Really beautiful. Again, this also led to additional consulting time, and they continued working on it. Right, this was just the beginning of it. QLogic also does this really nice solution for an inspection solution for this organization that has engineers out in the field doing inspections over here, and really nice. The guys at QLogic, John and they just did a really amazing job here. This audit system is completely dynamic, really nice looking. Nothing is hard coded here, so they can create their own audit forms. Completely dynamic. It has reports, and even charts, dynamic charts, again in 10 hours. 10 hours. Just truly amazing the amount of value delivered in that very, very short amount of time. Again, this led to additional consulting time as well. There's another one here by DB Services for a landscaping company. Really nice, keeping track of customer engagements. Really, really nice stuff. This one from iSolutions for health fitness organization. Really nicely done. They took their entire very paper-based sign-up process and converted completely digital. They went paperless completely for the sign-up process here in just 10 hours. And they came back. They loved it. KaiFit loved this solution so much they went back to iSolutions and hired them for additional hours to continue working on the solution and expand it to not just the sign-up process, but entire customer experience. Really nice, help them automate a lot of their process, and they are continually engaging iSolutions for more work, really expanding the solution. Really, really nice. Full City Consulting, another job, really beautiful jobs, another landscaping organization. This was really nice. This is May Brothers Landscaping, I believe, in Milford, Pennsylvania. Really nice. They met them at a Rockaway Apple store. This small company has 6 trucks, everything paper-based. And what's beautiful about this solution is that once it was done, they told Full City that this solution, not only was it great because it took them completely paperless, but they saw it now as a strategic advantage over the competition. This is moving them ahead of everybody else in their industry. I mean, granted, the industry is landscaping in Milford, Pennsylvania, but this is a strategic advantage for them, right? This puts them above everybody else. And this is the type of thing, this was done in 10 hours. Again, there was more work done afterwards, but it was usable off the bat, right? It removed bottlenecks, as they put it. So really, really nice. They're using iPads on LTE, going out on trucks and using this completely connected to their server, and everybody is up to date with everything. So, I mean, and the examples goes on and on and on about some of these amazing projects done in a very short amount of time, delivering value immediately. So, why would anybody want to do something in such a short amount of time? Put themselves, as a consultant in such a difficult situation of trying to deliver something in such a short amount of time. Well, in talking with these partners, they helped me identify some of the benefits that they saw, right? So the first thing was this doing a very short project like this introduces customers to the whole concept of custom development, right? Most people have never worked with anything, remotely similar to custom development. Everybody's downloaded an app, but nobody's ever worked in a project where they're building something from scratch, right? They don't know what to expect, and expectations are very important in this whole aspect, right? So customers learn what it is like to work with a consultant, right? Customers learn what the development process is like, and this learning experience is invaluable. So while doing that, the customer learns, right? Not only does the customer learn about this, but you also learn how the customer works. And this is also, as a consultant, and I've been on this side as well, this is precious information, right? Not only is the customer learning how you work, but you want to learn how the customer works. And it's wonderful if you could do this during the development process, because this also helps you build that relationship with the customer, that rapport that you're going to need to build on later on, because you're going to be together in the long run. Gets a really great cement, right? You're starting on a great foundation, building that relationship, and you can all do this by with very minimum risk, right? You're minimizing the risk for both of them. We're both starting on something that's going to help us learn from each other, but we don't have a lot of skin in the game, right? I remember Adam Aronson from Full City telling me, there's not a lot of rope to hang yourself in 10 hours, right? For both sides, right? The customer is not putting down a lot of money. You're not spending too much time. And if at the end, one of you is not comfortable with the whole process, then you know what? Then we can part ways, and we didn't lose much. So you learn more about the customer and the entire operation this way, which is very beneficial for everybody. Um, the other thing is, and I heard this from a couple of our partners, is that this entire process helps developers learn what can actually be done in a short amount of time. Many of us have done development for a long time, and we immediately go, oh yeah, this project. We look at the ask, we go, yeah, there's going to be 100 hours, there's going to be 50 hours, 150 hours, whatever. But we've never tried really to do something in a very, very, very short amount of time. And this, for some of our partners, when I was talking to them, we said, this opened my eyes, right? It opened my eyes, not just for me, for some of the guys who work with me, how much can really be done, right, in this short amount of time, and which is great, which is a great testament to the platform and our own methodology. The other thing is, I heard from a few of them, it can be fun, right? And especially if you're out there doing work for the same customers and things like that, this helps you get out of the monotonous jobs, right? And trying something absolutely new, short-lived. You're in, you do something, deliver it, and you're out, and you're done, right? If you've been working on large projects for a long time, or with the same customers for a long time, this is a great way to get something, a little exciting and do something that can be fun. That being said, as great as those benefits are, that's really not why most of these partners win and keep on doing these short-lived projects. The thing is, the really most important reasons I heard, right, when I asked, why do you actually do them? Well, first thing is money, right? Let's be honest. Most of us got into consulting not for the love of it, but really because we want to make a living out of it, right? So what I heard back was, well, this actually helps the sales process. How so? Well, there's this concept about, and as one of our FBAs said, Scott was telling me, this is more about landing and expanding, right? This is a great way for us to get in the door, right? This also gets the platform in the door, right? Many of these projects end up with customers returning back for additional hours. So you get your foot in the door, you get a win, and this helps you with relative sales, right? Possibly selling more. It allows you to say yes to pretty much any project that's out there as well. Because if you're able to deliver something with a small project, then this means that you can say yes to pretty much any budget. No budget is too small then. So you can finally say yes to those customers who come in with a very small budget as well. And it scales. So even if it's a 10-hour project or if it's a 100-hour project, then you have the ability to say yes to all of these. The other main reason why people would do it is for marketing. And this is interesting because I know when I was a consultant, marketing really wasn't a thing that I looked into a lot. I really wasn't good, and I've seen a lot of us out there are not particularly fond of doing marketing, but this is something that we can actually do, right? So here's one of those things. You might want to go into creating these projects, and maybe one of those not for sales per se, but able to use it for your own marketing. Maybe don't charge or charge very little for it, right? And what this happens is if done right, you can build it so that you can use it as a marketing material, right? This is wonderful because you can take this, put it on your website, provide it to FileMaker or to the community as a way to attract potential customers to yourself and let them know the quality of work that you do. This obviously means that the project has to have some really significant, must look good and must operate well, right? Some quality has to be put in here, but again, the risk isn't great, right? We're talking about something small, something very narrowly focused that looks very good and can deliver value from it. And when you do this with certain customers, you're creating brand advocates, right? You're getting customers who you're converting into walking, talking ads for you. So I've heard of cases where the project was done for this customer for very little or no charge whatsoever, because they knew that there was probably nothing more going to come out of it. But that customer that was very happy with it, they are walking, talking ads, right? Whenever somebody else is going to ask them about development, about custom app, guess who they're going to recommend, right? I remember talking with one of our partners who said that he had done several projects, ranging from 2 to 10 hours, where he just didn't charge them, but he knew that that customer was going to come back and be able to be a reference for him later on. So they left happy. They were absolutely going to mention his name elsewhere. In that vein, by the way, there was a couple of sessions at DEF CON that touched a little bit more about and in more detail into this concept of marketing and creating advocates. I highly recommend that you go to YouTube or go to our page and find these sessions. The recordings are set up there. They're really great for learning on how to create compelling marketing materials and how to use these marketing materials and existing customers to acquire new ones. It's really amazing. Highly recommend you go see them. Anyway, so back to the 10-hour project. Figured out, well, I know why you do it, but how in the world did you get to do that, right? How do you deliver something in such a short amount of time with a decent quality that delivers value? I mean, that sounds just really difficult, because I know 10 hours is not a lot of time. So after asking a lot, and polling everybody, I identified 4 things that everybody kind of agreed upon, right? The first thing that almost everybody told me was process, right? You have to have a specific process to tackle these projects. One size does not fit all, right? A new process may need to be established for you to deliver these things. So this process that you're going to put in place needs to be put in from the point of view of having very minimal overview and management. And you can't use the same process that you normally use for 100-hour or 150-hour projects for something that has 10 or 15, because there's just no time for the management, the overhead. It's just really not there. So you need to pay attention to the budget and have very rigorous discipline in enacting this process, because you just don't have that much time, right? The other thing I heard about this project, with this process, is that your process has to plan for short iterative work. Meaning you're going to start very small, but this is the starting point for something larger. You're going to be working on top of this and adding more work. And so when you're planning for this, you might want to do some research into agile methodologies, things like extreme programming, incremental models, Scrum, and all those things, because this is exactly where it shines. And getting something from those, learning from those processes that have been established and being used for a long time goes exactly to this type of process. The other thing is having the right person, right? If you have multiple people in your development shop, this usually should go to a senior developer, right? Because there's not a lot of time to go over quality and testing and things like that, or having just one person to do the UI and somebody else to do the programming. This needs to be somebody who knows the process, who's no stranger to development, and know that can stay on schedule, right? That being said, some partners told me that they would sometimes give these projects to junior developers, and the reason is this could be a very good learning process for those junior developers that you want to kind of bring up, right? You most likely, when you give it to a junior developer, you're almost certain that it's not going to be delivered on time. So you might have to eat the cost there, but you can put it towards their education and forming them up and bringing them up the ranks, right? They may need some supervision. So again, it's going to cost you some more, but the cost might be very well rewarded back. The other thing is that this process they're going to put in place, you need to set a time target, whatever it is. We're talking here about 10 hours, but it could be 15 hours for yourself. It could be 30 hours. Whatever it is, set a time target and stick to it, right? That's the other thing. Whatever it is, it should have a set time frame for it, and you should be disciplined about about finishing and sticking to that time frame. The second thing that was identified in most conversations I had to do with planning. The planning for these projects is critical, right? So first thing is you need to have clear motives when you go into a project of this size. The reason you need to know, as great as the benefits are, you need to know is why am I taking this project, right? It's not going to be easy. It can be very challenging. So why am I doing this? You need to ask yourself, am I doing this to sell more? Am I doing this for marketing reasons or whatever it is? Make sure that you go in knowing you have very clear what your motives are, because later on you're going to doubt yourself, right? And you need to be able to go back and be clear on why the hell you got in. The other thing is, you need to have a clear overall picture of what's going on. So this project might be very narrowly focused on trying to get something accomplished, but you need also to be able to have the big picture, right? Know how the tree fits in the forest, right? So you have to understand where the customer ultimately wants to go, even though we're creating this one very specific thing or very few things, right? And then plan for iterative work once again. So again, the concept of extreme programming, incremental model. You're starting very small, but this is the first brick that you're laying on something that's going to end up being a very large wall or castle, if you will. The scope is very important in this whole thing. I mean, it's critical, right? Knowing what the scope is for any project is important, but with these, it's just absolutely critical. The scope needs to fit the target time frame that you've chosen, right, and not the other way around. The customer is going to come back with a laundry list of things that they want to do. You can't take all of them. They need to know off the bat, this is the time frame we have. It's beautiful that you have all these 20 things that you want to accomplish, but we got 10 hours or 15 hours. Out of all these things that you want to do, these are the things that we want that we can accomplish in that time frame. So the scope has to be very, very clear. And then, again, with the concept of a minimal viable product, getting an overall idea from what the customer or business needs are, prioritize these needs and identify, which one are the top 3 or 2 things that will bring the biggest impact, right? Bring the biggest value overall. So choose those items, right, that align with the overall vision, but very narrowly focused, and tackle those then with the scope that fits whatever the time frame that you have chosen. And then expectations are absolutely paramount when it comes with these, right? And because setting incorrect expectations was really the most common failure reason I heard from everybody. And it actually is not just from the customer's point of view, but from both sides, but also from the consulting. Expectations need to be crystal clear from both sides. So, everything from, naming it right, it also kind of comes into this, right? If possible, don't give it a name. Don't call it a prototype. Don't call it a mock-up. Don't name it. Don't label it. Describe it. Going back to what John had told me. So if possible, just describe it. Don't give it a name, right? Or call it at least for what it is. And make sure that the customer knows what to expect and what not, right? If there's not going to be any integrations or things like that, make sure that everybody's crystal clear on what the scope is, and make sure everybody has correct expectations from both ends. The other thing I heard that was really interesting for those projects that succeeded was always make sure that you have the next steps clear from both sides, right? Make sure, but for the customer is really important. Always inform the customer what to expect next. Again, most of these people have never done this before, right? This process is completely foreign to them. They don't know what to expect. You're guiding them. You're walking them through the dark. So letting them know what's going to come up next, what's the next step, is critical, especially if you want to bring up, if you want this to have, to continue to have additional work, right? To keep growing. So when you're delivering this is one of the best advices I got was bring a proposal for the next cycle to deliver to the delivery meeting, right? When you're coming to that delivery meeting, make sure you bring in the proposal for what's next. So, hey, look, remember those 7 or 17 items we couldn't tackle in 10 hours, right? let's go look at that and what that looks like. Let's look at what the next 20 hours, 30 hours look like. This is a proposal for that. So just a winning combination. The next thing I heard was tools. You need the right tools. So because you're in this meeting, right, you need to choose the right platform. Give yourself a round of applause because you're in the right. You already have the right tools. We're all FileMaker users. I actually asked all the partners, everybody I interviewed, said, do you think you could have delivered this exact same solution with the exact same value if you're using a different tool? And everybody said no, it's impossible, right? This is one of the benefits of using FileMaker as your development platform. There's nothing else out there that would have allowed us to deliver something like this in that short time frame. The other thing is, part of your tool set is be able to reuse things, right? And this is where some of the platform, some of the things in the platform and the things that we've been saying for the last years come into play, right? Things like themes, right? Being able to reuse themes here is just an amazing thing. Be able to apply and use themes, even if it's custom themes that you already have, but not having to build them from scratch for every project is just so important because you can save so much time. Have pre-built layouts, and when I say layouts, I don't mean layouts in the FileMaker sense of the word, but I mean what a layout for a form view would look like, right? For a list view and things like that. If you have some screen layouts kind of pre-made already, this can help you so much when it comes to creating brand new solutions in a very short amount of time, right? Have some distribution, some layouts already kind of picked out, things that you could reuse later on in other projects. Scripts and functions, right? We've been doing this for years, reusing stuff. Your most commonly used scripts and functions that you have out there. Just this is a great time to use those. And starter solutions, and I'm not just saying the starter solution that come with the FileMaker Pro, which I would say it's a great way also. A lot of our FBA partners are using starter solutions to start some of their projects. This gives you a great head start. But also you can create your own, right? Some of the people I spoke with told me, I got my own starter solution. I got something to file. It's not a framework or anything like that, but it's a file that has the theme that I normally use, or a theme that I like to use, or a couple of themes. It has some layouts for form view, for list view, and things like that. It's got some of the scripts that I normally use, and functions, custom functions that I most commonly use. This file is just ready to go for me. Start, creating a project right off the bat and very quickly. The other thing then is bring the wow factor, and this goes really to the concept of delivering things that the user, that kind of blow the user away, right? User-centered design, we've been talking about this, FileMaker, but the entire industry has been talking about this for a while. The concept should not be new now. Your solution should be looking at how the user works and how they want stuff to work, right? Just observe your users. Build the stuff so that it's easy for them to use, and with the user in mind more than anything else, right? But also you want to make it look good. And here's the thing with this. Ever since the App Store and smartphones, users have come to expect really nice apps. That's just a reality of it, right? People don't like ugly-looking apps anymore. They don't. The bar has been set very high. If you go out to the App Store and you find two apps and one of them looks nice and the other one looks crappy, even if the crappy one is free, a lot of people are just going to go and pay 99 cents or $1.99 for the other one. People are expecting not just things that work, but that are easy to use and look good. The FileMaker platform has really added in the last few years a lot of great tools that make it really hard for you to make things that look bad, right? So just utilize them and just make it look good. The other thing is that I heard this around, and it's something that has been falling off rates for quite some time, and I think we need to bring it back. It's the concept of surprise and delight. People just want to be surprised, that's just the gist of it. I mean, people just really want to be surprised and want to feel that they got something that they weren't expecting. And that was above and beyond what their expectations were. And in this vein, I mean, Chris Hippolyte was coined this phrase with me. He said, "This is where I use hero features, right? Hero features are those things that are very easily implemented, right? Features in FileMaker that deliver great value. Things like signature capture and barcode scanning, and things that most customers are not expecting to see right away that you can't do in 10 hours, but you and I know that can be done in just a couple of minutes, right? The platform makes those very easy for us to implement, and wow, do they deliver value and amaze customers? And they're going to think customers think that you know you spent hours and hours just doing the signature capture that works beautifully, but they didn't take us that long. Don't abuse them. You don't want to put everything under the sun there, because you also want to keep expectations right. We don't want to make the customer think that you can deliver Facebook in 10 hours, right, or Amazon in a few hours. But used wisely, these features, right, that are built into the platform can really surprise and delight the customer with it. So those are the four things that I identified on how you can implement these 10-hour projects for your own customers, right? So just going over them really quickly, you need a process specifically designed for that, where the management part is minimum. You're planning for iterative development. You choose the right person for it. It's either a senior person or a junior that you want to bring up the ranks, and set up a specific time frame for it. In the planning side, make sure that you go into the project knowing exactly what your motives are. Understand the big picture of the customer, right? We're building something small, very narrowly focused, but we need to understand where the customer wants to take this in the end. And this is where scope needs to be very clear on both sides. We want to know exactly what's included and what not. Clear expectations for both sides. Again, everybody needs to know what's going to happen, what's going to be delivered, and importantly, bring and make sure that everybody understands what's going to come up next, especially the customer, right? On the tools, you got the right platform. Hooray! Let's use it, right? And reuse the tools, right? Make sure that you can reuse them and save time with the platform, and deliver something stunning, right? Not just the user experience and the user interface, but right, surprise and delight them. Right? Let's make sure that the customers leave very, very happy and completely surprised. Well, that's it. I'll open it up if anybody has questions and answer any questions you guys might have. But I hope this at least starts the conversation
Yeah,
around this concept.
I thought that was a very good presentation, Ronnie. I really liked it. We were invited to go to a sort of like little meeting at the International Plaza Apple Store in Tampa. And this was the
Mm-hmm.
very thing that was the subject matter that day. And everybody had their incredibly expensive iPad Pros, and and nice tools. They had the keyboard and the stylus and
Sure.
everything. But
Mm-hmm.
they did a presentation on this, but it was before the fact, not after the fact. And we signed up for it, of course, and I was supposed to be the one that took it on, and I
Mm-hmm.
did actually a lot of the things that you mentioned in your presentation. We took into account as far as obviously, heck, I could probably go through each of the things that you've got listed right now, but more or less, we saw it coming that if we weren't prepared, if we tried to just start an idea to iPad project bare, like just create a brand new file and start getting into it,
Mm-hmm.
that it would quickly become a mess. So right away, I went and tried to start an iPad base, more or less, a base solution where it had the layout, size, and structure figured out, and forms and lists, and
Sure.
maybe like a main menu thrown in there. Just maybe even a little bit of rudimentary navigation. Um,
Yeah.
just the stuff that you can't live without. As much of
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, a theme, a nice, nice looking
Yeah.
touch theme that I could easily change the colors on.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
really basic, but really customizable. And if we got somebody, I could,
Hmm.
duplicate my template table and have all the fields and keys and everything that I need, and um,
Hmm.
hit the ground running. And without starting,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
even
One thing I'll say about reusing stuff. So sorry, sorry to
no,
cut you
you're
off.
fine.
That one of the things I heard from some of the developers was, um, you want to be able to reuse, scripts and functions and stuff like that. But some of them I asked, well, are you using a framework? Do you have a framework you develop? And what I got back was you got to be careful, especially in these projects, about using frameworks, full frameworks, right? And when I'm talking about framework, is a file that has just about everything under the sun,
Right.
navigation and authentication and all this fun stuff over there. The problem with using a framework with a small project like this, it might first might be overkill, but overall, you want to be careful with expectations, right? Because if you come back and in 10 hours you deliver this amazing file that has this, really awesome
Yeah.
navigation and all these reports and things like that, expectations are going to, no matter how you frame it, no matter how you talk about it, customers are going to think, well, if you can deliver this in 10 hours, in 20 hours, they can build anything. And that's not true, right? So you
Yeah.
just be careful, be very aware about what you include. You don't want to you don't want to set expectations too high either.
And I think my fear is that the expectations are already so high for any software,
Mm-hmm.
any application, which FileMaker is awesome at meeting those expectations, you know, and blowing them out of the water for as far as, what time you can get custom software in. I mean, try and do that in any other programming language and you will be, in, multiple times more money and
Yeah,
length of time, length of development.
yeah,
But I feel like the bar is already raised so high, like you were saying. So it's like if you don't come,
yeah,
ready for battle, you know what I mean? Then
yeah,
you're just gonna get eaten alive. They're gonna take one look at the thing and go, "Oh, this is ugly," or try to move around the system or add a record or do a
yeah,
perform a function it's supposed to do, and it'll be buggy because maybe those parts weren't worked out as part of just this is the basic iPad structure. Um,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're. I mean, we've all done this, right? We've downloaded an app from an app store, looked at it, thought it was clunky, didn't work
yeah,
well. Nice, gonna delete it, right? We don't care. We got the bar has been set very high, and we've got
yeah,
to live up to it. That's just the
exactly.
reality of
And I don't want to be the clunky people. That's the thing. I hate ugly.
it.
I hate
Of course
ugly
not.
programs. I will uninstall them off my phone in a heartbeat. And
Yeah.
we have the opportunity to really, really wow somebody. And even in our regular development, we use a base solution for desktop applications. That really, we're still working on the next one, but more or less, I mean, we pretty much always use a framework of some sort, and I have to agree with it, in general. I mean, if you create something out of a framework, then it's like your naming convention may not be consistent. Your
Mhm.
structure, underneath the hood in the relationships graph may not be consistent. Um, your consistency goes right out the window if you don't really have like a plan on how everything is supposed to grow out. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Planning is
hate to
critical.
use the,
Absolutely.
the word organic, but that's the one I hear a lot when we're talking about these things. Something that grows organically, and you know the tables just explode and the fields just explode and the relationships explode, and you've got a big mess on your hands instead of a nice structured solution. Um,
Hmm.
Especially if we land the
Absolutely.
project, especially if we go home with those clients and we keep working with them. um, I don't
Hmm.
want that solution to grow into um, a starter solution plus, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you know what I mean. You've probably played around in those
Yeah.
things and hopefully looked under the hood in those starter solutions, and they're great. They're great, But I'm not
Mhm.
sure I'd want to start off with one of those um, and build something huge. Like say based off the context, like oh we've already got context. Let's build
Mhm.
in a real estate stuff or or whatever type of tracking they're doing. Um,
Yeah.
it just kind of
It goes there to understanding where the customer wants to go. If you know the customer wants to go move to a very into complex, very comprehensive CRM,
right.
maybe starting off with a contact starter solution might not be the right way, right?
Yeah,
But if at the end you know that they're just going to be moving just a little bit ahead of what that starter solution provides, then that can actually be a very good win. It
yeah,
allows you to give something very valuable in a short amount of time and get you started. So it all depends, right? It comes to the notion that you really should know, where you want to go, right? You have to understand what the big picture is, and
yeah,
planning there is crucial.
yeah. And I don't want to, sink my teeth into something um, that might fail under 10 hours. And that's another thing. It's like if you hit the 10-hour point and it's not deliverable, right? It doesn't. We're not done yet because we spent too much time tweaking things or with little minor refinements. I have not had the pleasure of doing one of these yet. I actually really want to see, can we squeeze it down to just what they need in 10 hours and give them what they want over time.
Excuse me, this is Chris, and I just wanted to point out that Wayne just volunteered to do the QuickBooks project for one of our clients.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, I think
I
this
was going to
QuickBooks
mention.
project.
I was actually going to mention after watching this presentation, we had the experience recently. Um,
Yeah.
Normally, a lot of our inquiries and customers we work with are looking for end-to-end solutions. They're looking for the soup to nuts.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot of attention paid to the big picture. Um,
Sure.
Even then, though, a lot of things you're speaking to, um, even if it isn't a 10-hour project, like we've gotten in the habit, if we're looking at a project that may, soup to nuts, everything they're asking for is 200 or 300 hours. They're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
We try and find a point as early as possible in the project where we can roll out.
Mhm.
Where there is that initial part, because you want to start getting that feedback. You want to start getting feedback from people who aren't just imagining, they're actually using it.
Yes.
Because the,
Absolutely.
the value of the feedback is so much better.
Mhm.
There's that, until something's on the screen, everybody's got a picture in their head, and you don't find out until later, but almost always everybody's got a different picture in their head. It's a little bit different. So you're not really talking about the
Absolutely.
same thing. So, rolling out something, even if it's not 10 hours, even if it's after 20 hours, 30 hours, 40
Yes.
hours,
Yep.
getting something in users' hands and also letting them start getting the ROI so they don't feel bad about stroking those checks.
That's
Because
exactly. That's
they can see we're
exactly
already
right.
saving money. This is an
Yeah,
investment.
delivering value on the first one. It's
Yeah.
a win for everybody, right? We need to get a win under the belt on both sides, right? Because remember, whoever you're building this to has to report to somebody. Somebody reports to somebody. Even the owner reports, right, to his own bottom
Hmm.
line. So if they're getting value immediately after this, right? The ROI is right there, even on the first one. Then it's a lot easier to pitch uh, the next
Yeah.
iteration. I remember one of the FBAs I was talking to said, "We don't take any customer, any project off the bat. Every project of ours starts. I think it's like 15 or 20 hours. Yeah, he won't take anybody that comes in and like,
Mm.
oh, we need a 100-hour project. No, no, no. We start with 20 hours, and after that, after we both are okay with each other, after we both have a win, and we understand how the process works on both sides, then we could talk about 40, 50,
Yeah.
100 hours. But first, let's start small. Let's get a win. Let's learn from each other. Let's learn about the process.
That's an interesting approach.
Mhm.
We ran into I guess you'd call it a 10-hour project just recently where we're going out. We went on site, the three of us, Wayne, Jason, and I, went out to meet with a potential client. And again, they're soup to nuts. Everything they want is, 200 to 300 hours. It's a lot. And they were talking about, we may not be able to do that this year, but, let's talk about some planning and so forth. But as we were leaving, we uh, were getting to know the different people working there, and there's one user or potential user, I suppose, who's sitting there with a spreadsheet, a printout from a spreadsheet, typing the contents of that spreadsheet into QuickBooks. And we said, well, maybe that's something we could save money on, but I mean, how long do you really spend doing that? It works out that this person spends as much as 8 hours a week doing this.
That's beautiful, quantifiable.
That's very quantifiable. I mean, really one table, right? Just one table and a plugin, right? Import the spreadsheet and then use the plugin to what they're doing is creating a purchase order in QuickBooks. And so we think we can deliver that in probably even less than 10 hours. And that'll be something they can point to and go, I've saved 20% of this person's workload.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
so it's like
you don't even know the person's salary, but right? That's huge. That's
sure.
huge.
I mean, it's if we can do that for even with software and plugin like $1,000, then we can point to that and say, look, you spent $1,000 and you saved maybe $1,000 a week by using it. That's
sold, right?
Yeah, right. Well, maybe not in a week. I guess her salary's not that high, but still fast. There's a fast turnaround.
Hey, Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim, this is on, I remember a couple of years ago I was looking into the QuickBooks interface. That's basically mostly, and when I was looking into it, I had developed a system to help me run my my place. I was at a townhouse association, and I was looking at moving that up. And I had done that initially on Mac, but that's basically the interface was all Windows-based, wasn't it? Must be. Is that what you're looking for now still, or has that had changed? This is about 3 years ago. I was looking into it.
They're entirely a PC house, but
I think
I don't know. I thought QuickBooks had gone.
When I looked at it,
Yeah.
was mostly running much better on a Windows machine than on a Mac. And when I was working at a small telecommunications, we had the same thing built in, and it was set into
there's
on a Windows-based system.
Yeah, well, if you're on a Mac, I think there is now QuickBooks for Mac again.
It wasn't as good when I looked into it about 3 years ago.
Right. And there's also QuickBooks Online is taking off, and of course that's platform agnostic. But there's also plugins to talk to other other accounting packages. So the same principle still applies.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, it's sort of like we've talked about. Actually, did a session sometime back about email strategies. It's like. We like the 360works email plugin, but pretty much all the plugins do pretty much the same thing. And likewise here, even if it's not QuickBooks, there's a way. There's always a way.
Absolutely.
But so yeah, we have our own little 10-hour project going on, and like I said, I think these principles apply even if you are looking at a larger project, getting that initial punch in there. Getting the ROI, getting the sale, getting the comfort level, and all of that requires the things you're talking about, the planning and making sure you've got some reusable code to get in there quick. So all those things really resonate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Jason here, also from Extensitech. I'm intrigued, Chris, about the example of the other FBA that insists on a very small project at the beginning. And like you've said, I don't think we can do that. This doesn't fit for everyone. So we're looking for the right opportunity for this. But I wonder, given that we already look for that first sort of cutoff point, so we can make a quick delivery of phase one. Maybe we haven't been thinking hard enough about that. Maybe if we start considering, the kind of benefits we get out of being able to deliver a 10 or 20-hour chunk of work at the beginning of a project. We start looking harder at that. Maybe the opportunities are there more often than we imagine. We just haven't been thinking about it. But I think it's really timely, this discussion coming on the heels of the consultation Chris was talking about there, where I think we were, not, possibly not even going to get that project. It's a year away at the earliest for us to get the big deal. but here we are at the last moment with a toe in the door really quick there, where we go, wait, I think we can actually save you money now, and goodness, we had just minutes before then been telling the woman who wanted to pitch the project to the owner of the company that we were like, you're going to have to come up with ways to justify the cost of this, right? It's this is going to be it's a cost side type of project where they're not generating revenue with the project. They're gaining efficiency and that sort of thing. So I'm like, you're going to have to make a case, give them great examples of how this is going to make your operation work better. And then lo and behold, here we go a few minutes later as we're leaving, figuring out that right away we could do something for you in a very small amount of time that's going to immediately start turning around money you're spending elsewhere. So I think that's just really an intriguing concept altogether. So.
Well, in the door, and it helps everybody. I mean, once you have that project in place, right? And I think we probably all agree, once FileMaker, the platform, is in the organization, it's so much easier to sell another project, right? Platforms like, yeah, you got everything already, right? The customer already has server, has pro, or whatever it is, right? You already have it there. This is just about us creating something else and hosting it there. So, really? Yeah. So it helps everybody if you get that one win off the bat. And to your point about the process and not being there yet or whatnot, in my conversations with some of our partners, I heard not everybody is lined up for it, right? Not everybody is built that way to do it right off the bat. And some of the ones that I was talking to, at least one of them is somebody where they said, well, your call comes in a really interesting time because we are actually been talking with other FBAs as well, and that are doing something, they're actually doing this and looking at small projects and iterating and see if we can change our own process, because they have been formed from the beginning, right, this partner, to look only at large projects. They wouldn't look at anything that wasn't below 100 hours or something like that. Like, this is not for us. But they said, look, everybody else is having success with this, and quite honestly, the app world, the app ecosystem, it's about small chunk size things, right? Apps that just work on do one or do something very narrow and deliver something. We need to be able to start looking at something, being able to deliver it and working in that type of process. So they, as we were talking, it's like we actually have a meeting. I think it was like the next day, in the next couple of days, we have a meeting just to do that, right? We have to look at our process and see what we need to do to modify us to get us to that point, because our current process does not fit that, right? Our overhead is too big. It takes us 7 hours just to do the management and all the fun stuff on every project, so it doesn't fit this type of engagement. So I absolutely agree with you. It doesn't affect everybody. It needs a special process. It needs to be looked at and addressed in a particular way. But everybody can end up doing it if you really want to. You just need to modify the way you do things.
I also like that you, sorry, this is Chris again. I also like that you included the big picture. I think a lot of times without planning, which is the way most FileMaker databases start, with no planning whatsoever, right? You get so focused on what you need to do right now that you can't build on it later. You had some nice things to say about the starter solution, and I'll let those slide. But I can't imagine building a full solution out of them. Because you're kind of painted into a corner. You almost need to redesign them to make them extensible, to make them where you can add stuff to them. They are great demo solutions, but yeah, having tried years back to try and build the solution off it, and by the time you get done, you can't find the starter solution in there. Right, but so I'm glad you mentioned the big picture, though, because I think that's a challenge when you're trying to do a project that small, is to stay really focused on the initial scope, but also not paint yourself into a corner.
Absolutely.
It's
about starting
stuff. Make sure you're not ending up with mailing address 1, mailing address 2, mailing address 3. When you start seeing numbers at the end of your field names, you're in trouble. That sort of thing.
Agreed.
But if you get too focused on the 10-hour project, without that big picture, I think
Yeah.
there's a real danger
You're in
that
trouble. Yeah.
you can paint yourself into a corner and end up with data that you can't use for anything else except for this one purpose. So
Yep.
I'm glad you included that
Mhm.
as for the necessity it is, you know.
Yep. Absolutely.
So hey, who's
Quick
been
questions?
sitting on this meeting not talking besides me? I got Dave and Frank, Stella,
Hey, I'm
Karen
sitting
Stella.
here doing billable
There
work
you
while
are.
you're talking.
Yeah, don't
Oh.
interrupt her. Karen's actually working.
Yeah, if she's not doing billable work, she has to send us an invoice. So
Well, let's see. I've done double duty. I've been billing the whole time we've been sitting here.
Man.
You a
Sweet.
lawyer?
So,
I do bill like one, little quarter-hour increments here and there.
yep.
That's good.
I'm done.
All right. Peter says he'd speak up, but he's on a Mac Mini.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Oh, he said he had no.
Oh no,
No
no
microphone.
microphone possibly. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, we just discovered my ThinkPad has no built-in microphone either. So
Bummer.
Jason had to call in separate.
Ah, doesn't have the computer tonight.
No. We've just been huddled around my little laptop screen.
Oh wow, jeez, isn't that fun? Oh man. Well, I mean, you've done this presentation already, Ronnie, and you have a YouTube video and the slides and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything on community. Yeah, the slide deck is there in PDF format. The video is there as well for the recording from DevCon. So if you want to go over it, you got this recording as well here.
Yeah, this one, dude, double up, right?
Yep. So
Could you throw
it's
up
out there.
can you throw up the website on your screen? We're actually recording this and we'll post it, but that way anybody who's looking at the recording can go look up your slides and so forth easily.
Because those were
If that's something you can bring up in a
community.
browser.
Let me try.
I was gonna say
Just put you on the spot,
really good slides about this. That honestly, I wish that FileMaker had done a bit more like I guess research before they did the presentation we had, because it was very good, but it didn't have the sort of oversight and experimentation that this had in it. After some companies had already been through this, then you get the really interesting stuff.
Sure.
So getting some feedback is helpful.
Yeah, we still have the idea that iPad bundle is out there. Is that right? Wayne, remind me, because I think
honestly,
they decided to leave.
Still available.
Yeah, they decided to leave that available. So initially, I think it was just a special.
Bundle?
It's a bundle you can get. At least isn't. Are you an FBA, Karen?
Me?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, I thought you were. I don't know if you have to be an FBA to get it, but it's, what is it, server with 10 connections? Or is it 10 FLT now?
5 user. It's
5
5
user.
FLT.
Oh, the $888 special. Right?
Yes.
They recently sent that around.
Well,
Right.
it's $2,000.
Oh,
This is different.
$1999, and it includes for the customer. It includes 5 user FLT for a year with FileMaker Pro Advanced, and includes 10 hours of consulting with an FBA partner.
Oh, I swear I was looking at that on the site because it was broken out because I was looking at the $888 yearly special, which was 5 users, advanced, etc. I think I saw a notation to add 10 hours of consulting time on that web page.
This is. So I'll actually show you over here. Can you see my?
Yeah, I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at something else.
There it is.
So you can see my browser. Just want to make sure. This is the idea of the iPad bundle. Um, this is the URL partners idea to iPad. And for customers, it's a great way to get them started. It includes, like I said, 10 hours of consulting with an FBA partner, has annual licenses for FileMaker Pro Advanced, the 5-user connection for FLT, and then somebody from FileMaker also gets assigned to this customer to walk them through the process, right? We call them a customer success manager. So it helps them, again, a lot of people have never done custom development, right? They've never been in the process, so they don't know what to expect. They don't know what they don't know. So the idea is to kind of demystify and help them get started with something, get something tangible back, right? So at the end of the 10 hours, they get a deliverable that's designed, right, specifically for them, and just kind of to see something tangible. Again, it's not a finished product, and this is kind of where this whole thing came out from. Was some of these things that are being delivered just usable, right? There is an ROI there. There is value being returned. It's not fully fleshed out. It's not complete. There might be not even security set up, but they can start using it, right? Think about the example of the person typing into QuickBooks, right? That could be done in 10 hours, right? And they're getting eight hours back a week. That is something that goes directly to the affecting a really huge ROI there. So it's that type of project, something that gets them get something tangible out of the whole process, and you can see how this whole thing's going to work out. Showing back, this is a Huron community. This is the link over here.
Okay.
There, the slide deck is over here in PDF format, and on YouTube, on our channel, we have the 10-hour project session over here.
Hey, Ronnie, is the new policy for the DevCons to actually just release everything after DevCon to the public, or to the community?
That is. We're putting every single session out there.
Wow.
I know.
Isn't that
No, I'm laughing because my
wonderful.
usual modus operandi is to go there, party too much, and then look at the stuff after, saying, "Oh, at least I have my stuff because I signed up."
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny.
You can still do that.
I can party
There's
here
no
and then.
judgment. Nobody's judging, Karen. You can still do that.
No, I was laughing because I was talking to, is it Dion, the local rep
Yeah.
up here, and
Yeah.
he was asking me if I was going to DevCon, and I'm like, well, there's a lazy river, isn't there?
Exactly. Lazy River is there, and
Las Vegas.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun this year. I've been looking at some the lineup for this year's DevCon, and it's going to be awesome. I think this is going to be one of the best DevCons in a long time.
Who are you
The
excited?
content itself, the con.
I actually have not seen the lineup or anything, so.
It's not public yet, so.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was insider knowledge.
Yeah, and actually, tomorrow is when we're supposed to be notified if we are picked, right? So.
Yeah. That,
All right, one of my friends is in on it too. Fingers crossed.
This year, we got really great submissions. A lot of submissions, really high quality, very good subjects. I blown away completely.
That's awesome.
It's really amazing. I think this is going to be a great DevCon.
Yeah.
On a slightly unrelated note, Karen, are you an independent developer, or do you work for a firm? I can't remember.
Well, I work for my firm, meaning I have a corporation, but it's me and my assistant.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to hear that you weren't FBA.
I don't like to sell. I like to do. So the idea of selling software, which is the way I always perceived FBA as before. So, and then like on the advertising side, I definitely recommend Ronnie's logic of make your clients do your selling for you. So I've never advertised. I've never put up a website. I just let people fall in my lap because somebody else pushed them in my direction.
Well, I would still highly recommend the FBA for you, even if you're not doing aggressive selling, which we're not aggressive salespeople either.
Well, I was trying to tell
it's not our favorite part, but for keeping up to speed on everything and keeping the networking going, it's great. But I think probably the number one thing we get from being in the FBA is the listing on the FileMaker page.
Well, that would mean you get more clients, and well, actually, since I moved, my attitude's changed. But like 5 years ago, I was hiding from new clients. I didn't want them. I was recommending them to people. Go away, go away.
Well, okay, you become an FBA member and then send them to us. We'll take them.
No. Now Chris is getting more useful. He's getting closer to being, autonomous on projects. So like Ronnie was saying, hand him off on something and let him build it himself. I'd almost, have my nerve up to let him do that. And that kind of means also we could start taking on more clients, so that we're each focusing on different clients and things like that. So, but then
well,
again,
just as a fellow business, I would really recommend you check out FBA. I think you get way more than the money and time you put in.
The application's like 20 pages long or something, and I started filling it out, and I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this, and every like 6 months I come back and add another page to it.
Actually, I was telling somebody the other day, I joined the FBA back when it was SBA. I mean, this was like 2001.
Oh yeah, I was in
and like I sent him a little crappy FileMaker 4 solution on a floppy disk. so the requirements have apparently increased since then. I was joking with him that I don't know if I could become an FBA now.
Well, I've still never taken any of the what do you call it? I've never been accredited, so to speak. Again, I don't feel like spending the time. And I don't know, but I have a lot of solutions I could probably submit as examples to put up. So I just have to figure out which one to remove all the secrets out of and put it up there.
Right. Yeah, like I said, just recommend it. Of course, I'd recommend certification too, but that's a harder sell. But
I don't know. I'm only like 10 years from retirement. Do I have to?
I look at certification the way I do my business degree. I worked in business for many, many, many years without a business degree, and it's not like I didn't already know this stuff. But what it saves me from is explaining and proving that I know it.
Wait, can I tell you guys a really funny story? Years ago, I worked my way up in a Wall Street company to vice president, and then I get a call from HR saying, we don't have a record of your bachelor's. And I'm like, that's because I don't have one. And she's like, what? We don't promote people who don't have a 4-year degree.
Right.
I'm like, well, you did. So,
yeah, and it's not like you didn't, as with certification, it's not like you didn't know everything that you needed to know to get a bachelor's degree. But
no, actually, I had
just being able to. But just being able to check that box and go, look, we don't have to discuss this. Just assume I know the stuff that's included in this. And it's the same way with the certification. You don't have to do so much. Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to do this? It's like, yeah, I got it.
I'm pretty sure I have all the credits I needed. I just was too lazy to call up and say, okay, take this, smash it into that, roll it up, and hand me a 4-year degree.
Yeah, I figured out after my 11 years getting my 4-year degree, I had enough credits to be a doctor. They just weren't all in the same thing. So I just ended up with a 4-year degree.
Hey, but don't you feel all those different skills come into play wherever you are?
Absolutely.
All the different clients?
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, to me, it's like I said, just being able to check that box and go, look, you don't have to ask me if I know this stuff. I've made it this far. Here's somebody else vouching for me. And, I know this and more.
Well, that's the fun part of also being
makes the conversations easier.
So we've got a recap coming here.
I just want to put this up here just in case, since it'll be recorded. You can you have it there.
Oh shoot! We just recorded this, and I told that story. Uh-oh.
Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah. We're ratting you
And there's
out.
no editing.
No, I don't lie. You go look at my LinkedIn profile. There's no bachelor's on there.
Right?
No,
Very
I
good.
never felt the need.
You didn't put in your bachelor's at the University of Being Awesome, or I've seen some of those on Facebook. So.
God.
No, what you will find vary from place to place is my age.
Yeah, you've got me curious because you're calling yourself old so much. I thought I always assumed that I was the oldest one on the call, but
No,
Well,
I am.
I bet I have a
uh,
wife
yeah,
call.
James, you might have me.
I turned 71 in
beat
March,
there.
my
That's
friend.
right. I've
Okay,
actually
you
met
got
you.
me beat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyhow,
Can we go back to discussing
is anybody else
iPads?
working on anything? Oh, sure.
Well, my FileMaker 15 server, one of them at least, went up this weekend or last weekend.
Here, here.
I'm laughing though.
Congratulations.
Well, they forgot to give me directory access via SMB to any of the directories. So I'm like, well, I don't really want to start using this until I actually can use it. So that was pretty funny. They're also trying to resolve a problem with the second server. What was it? Some kind of subnet mask issue. But chomping at the bit. I've been waiting 5 years to convert these people.
Yeah, it's been a long haul for you, hasn't it? Been,
Yeah, well,
you've mentioned
sadly,
it a
it's
few
not
times.
a rebuild. It's a something that grew out of ClarisWorks, and some of the ClarisWorks elements are probably still in there somewhere. I didn't build it in ClarisWorks. The husband of the financial person did. So it's a very old file, that one section.
Yeah, we call that wandering around the mansion and stumbling across the shack that it started from.
Yeah, there's still layouts in there that I haven't seen yet. Like, no one has gone down that
Right.
dark path. So,
Like this whole mansion is held up by a tiki hut right in the middle. The, well,
so iPads. Let's talk iPads.
well, we just finished up an iPad project that they're going into testing with that we're
And
pretty
my
excited about.
and my question is, are they doing anything with syncing, or is this all with live connection, or what?
This was a case. They have an offline version. It's not a sync though. We've kind of stayed away from full sync, not so much because of the technical aspects, but because of the logistical, who wins and how do you explain a conflict to the user. But we managed to set it up so that the iPad users, they log in when they're on Wi-Fi to the hosted solution. The hosted solution downloads an offline solution and the information they need for the stuff that's assigned to them. And then they basically own those pieces of data so that when they upload, everything they upload wins.
Mm-hmm.
So they're downloading some, in this case, something called runs. And then they're adding related records to it, and those related records are what gets uploaded back. So there's never any conflict.
Sounds good.
So it's
I
not
have
really a sync. It's like the header
Yeah.
records come down and the related records go up. Grossly oversimplified, of course, but that seems to be working well. It's still a bit of a trick to get that download and update routine going, but
Mhm.
that way they don't have all the company's data that they're wandering around with, for one thing. And
No, I left because I have a client who didn't tell me they were interested in that. I don't know why everybody gets clients who've never heard of FileMaker. I always get the ones who ran themselves into a corner trying to build it themselves and then found me.
you
So
probably get more of those than the brand new clients, actually. Yeah.
I got them on a nice system hosted, and then they're still on a server I have access to, like it's not internal. So I'm looking at the access log and I'm like, wait a minute. I see phones jumping on and iPads jumping on. So I called up the guy and I'm like, were you interested in actually making this work for iOS? And he's like, oh yeah, I'd like to quote that. And I'm like, okay, so, but I have to get the specs out of him. But I was just laughing because no one told me they were going to do that. And I'm like, sure, the experience was not enjoyable.
Right.
What
Yeah,
they
we
can.
ran into that right after, actually right when iOS came out. Some of our clients just started opening our solutions in iOS and not telling us. It's like,
Right, the other client, I had to write a script in. Nobody is allowed in with iOS because we had
yeah,
people, one guy saying, I was using it on the bus on my iPad and it didn't work very well. And I'm like,
right. Yeah, that's what we did. We went back through all our solutions, and where we didn't have something made for that, or it wasn't intended for that, we locked them out, but also with the intention that, we want them to use iOS, but uh, talk to us first if you could.
yeah, I ended up writing their contacts section. I made a little Rolodex for the iPhone so that if someone does try to get into the system, they'll get just redirected to where they could look up and call a client, and that's it.
Well, that's a good idea. That way, and that way too, they're not just shut out. They get something that adds value, and it's sort of circling back to Ronnie's Prezo again. But they get something that adds value, and that makes them think, oh, what else could I do on my phone, or what else could I do on my iPad?
Yeah.
Actually,
We had
sorry,
another. Oh,
sorry if I can jump in here for a second. By the way, this is Frank. What I'm kind of curious about is with this 10-hour project, are you looking to do most, I assume you're looking to do most of it on the iPad, but what happens when you then want to take that solution and put it on the desktop because the users want to do some more with it? Like, is that part of what you're trying to also present at the Apple Store?
So interesting. Yeah. So just to be clear on some of the things, because this happened at DEF CON as well. Right. This concept really is not just. By the way, sorry, my son is here, my 6-year-old son, and we're snowed in, so respect here. The this whole idea about 10-hour project is not exclusively about the idea to iPads. I got inspired by it, but this applies to anybody, right? This is not just about idea to iPad events and solutions intended for the iPad. It just happened that I saw a lot of those, but this applies to any project, right? And quite honestly, not just in the FileMaker platform, although as we saw, the tools in the platform allow us to be able to deliver something in a very short amount of time that's good. So to your question, it can be either way. Right? It doesn't have to be to the iPad. And quite honestly, some of the idea to iPad, just because of the name that I did iPad bundles have been directly to desktop, right? Some people said, no, I don't need an iPad solution. I need something for the desktop, and some of those projects were directly to desktop, right? But the concept and the idea still holds. It's delivering something usable, valuable in a very short amount of time with very little risk. I hope that makes sense.
It does. I guess one of the other scenarios that I've come across, people just assume, oh, because it runs on the desktop and FileMaker says you can just throw it on the iPad, that the solution is automatically usable on the iPad. And like Chris was saying, users go and start using it with the iPad, and then all of a sudden it turns into one of these things don't work or it doesn't work properly. So it's almost like FileMaker is selling something on our behalf, which kind of, like, we have to go back to the client and say, well, yes, 95% of it works, but 5% doesn't.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry too much, right? This is all about expectations, and this is where that conversation, setting the correct expectations comes into play. When it comes to the idea of the iPad bundle, right? We call it the idea of the iPad, but expectations are clear. You don't have to use it on an iPad, and in any case, the customer is going to end up talking to the partner, and that's where really the the specs are being laid out, right? The customer comes back and says, yeah, I really don't need it on an iPad. Then you know where to go, right? You know exactly what to do and what to build. If it's going to end up being used in both places, well, then maybe in the first deliverable, we only do it for the iPad, or we only do it for the desktop, right? And then second or third iteration, we'll expand it with other layouts and functions to work on a different platform, right? That's part about that's a part of the consulting part, setting correct expectations and scope.
Okay, so you're not running into situations where you have a lot of FBA members coming back to you and saying, well, you know, they're going down one road, and then the client just assumes that they can go down another road afterwards.
I don't see that very often, but quite honestly, the platform does allow you to do that. If you plan it right and you build it, say, with iPad layout, size layouts, and stuff like that, it works perfectly fine on the desktop, right? Maybe the other way around might be a little bit harder. But again, this comes back to scope and expectations, right? As long as expectations are correct and customers know exactly what they're going to come back with, any issues I've ever seen regarding this had to do with setting correct expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a good part of the idea to iPad is, yeah, they're wrapping it up as if, this just works on an iPad, but you've got the FBA member or somebody there to explain that, yes, it works on an iPad if you make it work for the iPad,
Exactly, yeah.
I will say I have seen, Ronnie, I have seen a lot of clients that come away with that assumption, that because FileMaker has FileMaker Go, that anything you build for me on the desktop should just work on the iPad, and we have to work to set those expectations. But on the other hand, it could be worse. There was about, this was a long time ago, like 10, 15 years ago, there was FileMaker had an advertising campaign where they advertised that FileMaker does inventory, and I really wept, because of course customers are then coming to me going, well, what do you mean you'll set up an inventory system? It already does inventory. It's FileMaker, which is not trivial. So the message has gotten much better since then. Yeah, and it's
glad to hear. I'll let them know.
It's true. FileMaker does work on an iPad, but you do have to set those expectations. And a lot of times we end up telling clients like, yeah, it works on an iPad, but your iPad is not a computer, so we want to be really careful about what we put on your iPad. We don't want to just dump everything that could work on a desktop, dump it onto this little thin piece of plastic that you're walking around with.
Exactly.
We've got to be pretty deliberate about it, and they get that. I'm not sure that would come across in advertising. That would be a whole lot of fine print. But
it's a big message, yeah.
Yeah. So getting better. Just please, for the love of God, Ronnie, just tell everybody at FileMaker, do not tell people that FileMaker does inventory. FileMaker Solutions do inventory, but FileMaker does not do inventory at all. That was scary. Anyhow.
I think it's great what FileMaker. I think they're taking a risk, but not even a huge risk. I love iPads personally, but I think it's a move in the right direction. Bundling some things together, including development, and then helping out Platinum partners or FBA partners to get those customers from the Apple Store. I think it's awesome. I think it's all around a pretty cool idea. I mean, the 10-hour part is probably the part I have the most issue with. That kind of maybe sets expectations for too quick. But I mean, the funneling of customers and the inclusion of licensing and development, I think that's a very interesting step.
Yeah, and it's not. There's only a few partners, in this, using this bundle or whatnot, or working in this program. But you don't have to, right, to apply this concept. You can create your own directly with your own customers, right? You can talk with them and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll have this narrowly scoped initial project where we'll get this and that. This is the scope. This is the expectation, and you can work with your own customers. It does not have to be an iPad, right? It's just to be dead clear here. We're not talking about it has to be. This is something you can apply to any development project.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, a lot of people come to us and they kind of already know what they want if they've found us on the internet and we're in their local area and all that. Whereas it seems like the idea to iPad thing, they might not have a great idea of what they want. It seems like they might be kind of novice at seeking development. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like new to this whole thing.
Absolutely.
You know?
And that's exactly what it's all about, right? A lot of people have never done this before. This brand new. So, and if they're not ready to do this, right? And I think one of the great things about this, the bundle, just talking about specifically about the bundle now,
right?
It helps figure out who's ready or not for custom development.
Yeah.
Not everybody's ready, right? Not every customer is ready for that.
That is true.
Like you said, they might not have a really good idea of what they want, and if you don't know what you want, there's no way I can build it for you, right? So it's one of those things. If we can't put it in a piece of paper, if you can't tell me, then you're not ready, right? Let's try to filter out.
And even if they jumped and they start the program and we do the 10 hours development, it's only 10 hours. That's like you said, that's a pretty minimal risk for them.
Yeah.
And was that 888 for the whole combo? Is that what I heard?
That's without the FileMaker partner involvement, isn't it?
Oh.
Or is that right?
The bundle is all the software plus 10 hours is $2,000, $1,999.
Oh, okay. Still not bad, but
it's not bad.
Yeah.
To your point about the client who doesn't quite know what they want, I think even where our clients do come to us, at least with a broad idea of what they want, none of our clients know exactly what they want. I don't think a single one of them has ever come to us like if they knew exactly what they wanted, they'd buy FileMaker and do it themselves. I mean, FileMaker is not hard. But in the area of the iPad, I think mobile computing is still new enough that helping people figure out if this is appropriate for mobile is something we deal with. We'll occasionally get clients that go, "Yeah, I want this to work on an iPad," and you go, "Well, are you going out into the field? Are you? Oh no, I'll just be sitting at my desk." It's like, well, why on earth would you do that? But then they'll totally miss opportunities where they really are out in the field and they want to get that data. It's like they don't know where it fits. And I confess to having a little trouble with that too. When I have a lot of trouble finding a place for the iPad to fit between my phone and my computer. I'm always in front of my computer, and I always have my phone with me. So what do I need this thing for? But there are real situations in a lot of businesses where you have somebody who's, they're out in the field. They're lugging this thing around. They're, they may not have room to set up an iPad. They may be, any number of reasons. Like the iPad project we just finished. They needed some very rapid data entry in the field, and in a moving car. So trying to do that on a desktop would be a bit much, but with an iPad being very clicky, setting up an interface that could work on a small screen, very lightweight, it had some real value adds.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of clients are still just kind of looking at the iPad as another computer, and they're missing it. So having that opportunity to guide them through and this is a cool project, but the iPad doesn't fit here.
That's a consulting part, right? That's where we that's where we step in and help them out.
Yeah, it's iPads and barcodes are the other one. I always get that. We want to set up a whole barcoding system. Well, how many things are you scanning? 3 a week. It's like, really? Just no. Just I'm not even going to talk to you about it. I mean, you're not running a supermarket. You don't need barcodes. Just type. but everybody wants to jump on the new thing, which is good when it's appropriate. Right?
Yeah.
Wait, aren't barcodes passé now that there's the RF readers for taking inventory?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we
like
went right past the QR
on
codes, didn't we? Yeah. Well, hey, we actually fit in a 2-hour window tonight. Did anybody notice? This is like the first time we've done that in a while. We've been running over
Really?
disastrously. People at 8 o'clock, like, you can hear people tapping their feet and looking at their watches, like, well, I gotta
Big
go.
Bang comes on at 8 o'clock, guys. Come on,
Oh, gotta go.
Big Bang Theory.
Sorry.
I got the TV queued up, so let's. You got 13 minutes left.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
I think part of that is we usually do one of those intros first time around and chat a bit, and then it's half an hour's gone by before we even start.
Yeah, we tried not to do that tonight, especially with a guest speaker, because I mentioned that to Wayne before we started, because we love doing that, but like when we had the So Simple demonstration, it's like by the time we got done that, he was looking at his presentation going, I don't know if I got time left. Well, we're still open, anything you're working on that you want to share, we always love to hear it.
One of the things I'm doing, Pat say, is I have a client that he has a pest control business, and a friend up in Connecticut put me up with it because she had done just a form, and I'm doing just FileMaker iPad things to get the forms to email because they're having problems getting their paper things there. And as I said, the hope part is once they get that part learned, then I can build a real system at the home office to get it all together and tie it together. But now they're just doing paper, and it's, as you say, it's a bit and pieces thing, and hopefully you get the bigger project.
How do you feel about small businesses like that are very, antiquated? You meet the guy coming, he's the exterminator, he's got his clipboard, but they don't feel
that's it, to be honest. And he has his salesman out in the field, and and they were all doing, and my friend, she did a new paper form, and she goes, oh, wait a second, let me see if I can have Jim do something for you. So I didn't throw something together. I did a nice job for him, thinking hopefully in the long run. But yeah, and the problem, I started it prior to doing all the UUID for the primary key. And before I actually move it out there, I think I'm going to change my keys to UUID so I can do it and have a master up on the server later if he likes it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because the biggest problem with the way it is everything's isolated, so the individual client doesn't get passed up to a master area. And I told him, if you have something up there, besides, once the information there, I could actually send up something you put into an Excel spreadsheet. Duh. But, you work in bits and pieces, sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Karen, you're lucky. We're in allergy season down here. You're not. You got your snow.
Well, I had to set up 2 humidifiers because the humidity in here was down to 20% earlier. So that wreaks havoc on your sinuses in other ways.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of humidity here in Florida if you'd like us to send you some.
Oh, honestly, I was in Florida not far from you. Today is the first day I haven't had a headache since I left Florida. It took me a long time to recover, apparently.
Yeah, that climate's a shift.
Oh, God, that was nice sitting on the beach the last day. It was delicious.
Yeah, sorry I missed you, Karen. I saw your email too late, and I was out of town myself. But
Well, if they made me party any more than I had, fit in one more thing, I might have just died at the end of that trip because I was so exhausted.
Your death was narrowly avoided then. Had I been in town, I definitely would have been in for that.
I took over some old lady's Barco lounger because I could not move. And they're like, so let's go out and do this tonight. And I'm like, no, let's stay in and watch a movie.
All right. Paula?
So are we wrapped up then? 9 minutes early?
Yeah, I think we're probably ready to wrap up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everybody's good. We'll catch you next time. Do we have a topic for next time, Wayne? I can't remember.
I don't know if that was a Jason or somebody external. I'm not really sure.
We'll announce, but I don't know that we've got one firmed up. We've got several kind of on the hook, so I don't think we firmed up which one's going to be April, or not April, but March. But
Wayne, here's an idea.
Okay.
Just to the day of the meeting, send out a reminder to people.
Yeah, I got you. I try to keep on top of it, but sometimes I'm working, and
I hear you.
the
Yeah.
time gets away from me.
wait, what do you mean sometimes you're working? Hang on.
Yeah,
I thought you were working all the time, Wayne.
yeah. I mean,
I am so
You're so
damn
busted.
busy. It's hard to remember to fit that in. Isn't that the right thing, Wayne?
yeah.
Right.
I know.
That's what he meant to say.
Thanks a lot, Jim. You got me in trouble.
That's it. No, we keep Wayne hopping here. So.
Yeah, I'm a busy boy, but yeah, I think I'm ready to wrap this guy up, put the recording up, and get some dinner.
All right. Well, good talking, everybody.
Thank you,
It's,
guys.
Thank
been
you for
great
having
as
me.
always.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much, Ron. That was a great presentation. A lot of good convo came out of that too. So, thanks so much.
Yeah, good job, man.
Thank you.
Hope you'll join us again, even if you're not presenting. Come hang out with us. So,
Absolutely. Let me know.
all right,
All right. Take care,
all
everyone.
right, great.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, have a good night all.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Guys.